Let me tell you, Ladakh is an acquired taste. I just came here to meditate. I spent 10 days in the Leh Vipassana Center as a participant. It was a different experience than usual, but it shook me from inside. The destruction I saw was unexplainable. We made Maggie at the banks of Zanskar River with the Zanskar River water. I got some recognition for that ride from India Book of Records. Apparently, there is no one crazy enough to do this ride in India. Actual incarnations of Gautama Buddha have meditated here. Woohoo! Dekho! NH1 की खूबसूरती! This place looks so unreal. Layers after layers, mountains, high altitude, brown, deserted mountains. 1,000 years ago, this entire land was under a lake. Hello, gee, we are in Kargil market. Now we will actually see the transition of the landscape from rugged, rocky mountains of Ladakh to the lush green mountains of Kashmir. Hello दोस्तों, good morning. It is 17th August 2024 and I have left from Leh, the I love Leh sign, and it is almost 9 a.m. in the morning. It is, to be exact, it is 8:50 a.m. 10 minutes to 9, and today's aim is to reach Dras. Kargil War Memorial देखना है and let's see आज का दिन कैसे जाता है. It's gonna be a beautiful ride. द्रास तक तो मैं गया हुआ हूँ पहले, तो I know कि smooth होने वाला है. No tension, no worries, and it's gonna be amazing. Just fueled up. Long distance riding में full टंकी ही चलती है. Just spent my first 1,389 rupees on the 1 lakh budget. Today is the 17th of August. We started the India Circuit solo ride on 15th August 2024, India's 77th Independence Day. I arrived my homestay at 11 p.m. in Leh. My hands were completely frozen and swollen because of riding without gloves from Kargil War. I reached there at 9 p.m. and somehow, because of the adrenaline, I managed to reach my room safely. But I slept off for 12 hours the following night. On the 16th, my body needed some restoration time, so I thought to stay back one more day. I rested and I chilled, watched the sunset from my room, and said my temporary goodbyes to the beautiful city of Leh. I love the city too much because I have so many beautiful memories here with amazing people from all around the world who have turned into lifelong friends. So today we make a move towards Srinagar. Now, as it is already 9 a.m., it doesn't make sense to aim directly for Srinagar. Because what I've heard is that it takes 12 hours to reach Srinagar. Also, I want to check out the Kargil War Memorial. It is in Dras, some 60 kilometers ahead of Kargil city. I was there last month, just 2 days before Kargil Diwas, which is on 26th July. I didn't know that they had shut down the roads to the memorial because the PM was supposed to visit. The memorial itself was closed. So hard luck for me. But no worries. The gods are kind and they've given me a second chance. So I will reach Dras in supposedly 6 hours according to the map. Let's assume 7, including the lunch break. So I should reach between 4 pm and 5 pm. Now my strategy for a long distance ride is simple. Ride for long hours without break, and when you take break, take long ass breaks. It's that simple. So that's why I'm assuming no breaks in between. But a one singular 1 hour brunch break probably at Kargil. You see these barricades on the left? We are passing Leh airport. Now I won't be actually showing you the airport because it also functions as an army base camp for Leh city. So capturing it on camera is illegal by law. The area for the airport is very big, but commercially we use it on a very small scale. The first time I came to Leh was by flight, and the aerial view of this area is to die for. Such beauty I had seen for the first time in my life. So I'm out of the main city. This was my second time in Leh and till date my longest time. I have been staying here since the last 2 months approximately. Let's see. I came here at the end of June, probably 29th or 30th, and today is 17th August, so let's just consider 1.5 months. But wait, last time also I had stayed for approximately a month, but this one felt longer too. Because this time I made so many new friends. Visited almost every damn destination there is to visit in Ladakh. The touristy as well as the offbeat destinations. My last video of riding from Siachen base camp to Leh is supposedly offbeat because apparently there are so many bike vloggers coming to Leh every year, but no one, not a single one makes it to Siachen base camp. I don't know why. So if you're interested in exploring offbeat places in Ladakh, do check out my previous video. Do subscribe to explore more offbeat places from all over India coming up on this ride itself. So last year when I came to Leh, I just came here to meditate. I spent 10 days in the Leh Vipassana Center as a participant, and the following 5 days I volunteered to paint the center from outside along with 2 other participants. Those were one of the best days of my life because they were fun and peaceful at the same time. And also, I spent my time doing something selfless. This thing was completely out of my comfort zone. I was doing it for the first time and I had literally no self-gain from what I was doing. The other 15 days, I spent my time exploring Leh city, all the sunrise sunset points, all the monasteries, Khardungla Pass during the day on a rental bike. That was the first time I rode to Khardungla, by the way. And that time last year, I promised myself that this year I will make it to Leh on my own bike. Unfortunately, I did. I wanted to reach here before heavy rains hit Himachal Pradesh. Last year, in July 2023, I was stuck in Kullu for 5 days because of the rains and the landslide that took place. It was a different experience than usual, but it shook me from inside. The destruction I saw was unexplainable. So this year, before July hit the calendars, I reached Leh. Luckily, I experienced no heavy rains of any sort. Well, that was true prior to day before yesterday's experience where I was riding in rain while climbing and descending from Khardungla at night, the evening of 15th August. As soon as I reached Leh in June end, I made some friends who were from different parts of the world and we explored Ladakh like some crazy tourists. All the places, you name it. From Hanle, Pangong, Umlingla, Nubra, Somoriri, Puga, Sangam, Chilling, we experienced it all. We made Maggie at the banks of Zanskar River with the Zanskar River water. This is normal for us Indians, but not at all normal for foreigners coming from developed countries. They started calling themselves Indian by the end of their trip. Those were a few good and happy days of my life. So this was the first 2 weeks of my experience in Ladakh this year. After they left, I got myself a homestay for the next entire month and trained. I trained hard for this ride. ran for 8 to 10 kilometers in this high altitude to build up endurance. I practiced bodyweight training for 2 hours on the days I wasn't running. Let me tell you, Ladakh is an acquired taste. It exists only for tough people. Delicate darlings may not like Ladakh because every day you spend in Ladakh, the mountains, the altitude, the low oxygenated air tests your physical, mental, and spiritual strength. And once you learn to accept and triumph over these challenges every day, I can promise you that you will love this place the most in the world, just like I do. Ladakh feels like a foreign trip with no need of a visa. Because there is no place like Ladakh in India. Not Spiti, not Arunachal, nor Sikkim. So, India Circuit solo ride. It has begun. I can't believe it that it has already begun. So, as a child, I used to love studying maps. I'm an ADHD kid, so I could never focus on so-called studying for long durations. The only topics I could focus on for long durations were the topics which I was genuinely interested in, consciously or subconsciously. Even today, I have worked in the VFX industry, the animation industry. I have made social media ads for multi-million dollar e-commerce brands. I have worked in the corporate sector. I have done freelance work for TV shows, films, social media agencies, but I've never given a fuck for any of it. Truly. That's why I've never survived happily in these situations for long durations. The only place I survived working for 4 years is the work from home corporate job which I recently quit because they were calling me to work from the office. I traveled a lot in the last 4 years while working from home. Covered almost the entire country, grew so much as a person, all thanks to the different experiences travel offered. So a few months back, it was time for the big leap of faith. As a child, I used to love studying maps. Maps were the only thing I could focus on for hours. Now, half of my extended family has settled abroad since before I was born. So as a kid, I had been listening a lot to how America and the UK were so much better than India. The elders of my family sold the American dream like the government of America personally handpicked them to sell it to us. The silver lining was that it opened up the world for me. I used to stare at the map of Europe, America, and Australia for hours. I used to imagine what it would be like in some of the places that I liked. I used to wonder about their history. I'm a millennial kid, so the access to internet wasn't very easy for me. So I used to just imagine a lot. There was a particular map I loved to watch the most. That map turned out to be the map of India. I really don't know why. I always imagined myself in every corner of India, in every extreme-most points of India, in all the border areas of India, every single state, every single district. All this were just imagination before my early teenage years. Then teenage happened, hormones changed, I changed, distractions happened. But the desire to travel somehow never changed. When I actually started traveling solo, I never consciously thought about this ride. Because I started as a backpacker, not a rider. And also, this is simply insane. Circuiting the entire India, who does that? So, from the second half of 2021 to the first half of 2024, I was working and traveling side by side, being a travel junkie and living a hippie lifestyle. First as a backpacker and later as a rider. Before this ride, there are two long distance rides that I have already done. One in 2022 and the other in 2023. I did Mumbai to Kanyakumari and back in 2023. It was a slow journey. I took 7 months to finish the entire trip. Took the coastal route from Mumbai to Kanyakumari and back from the Western Ghats route. It was a life-changing experience. The other ride was a cross-country temple ride from Dwarka to Puri. Took an entire month to slowly visit, worship and spend time in all the temples in between. So that started from Mumbai. The first stop was Somnath, then Dwarka and Nageshwar, from Dwarka to Mahakaleshwar, Omkareshwar in Madhya Pradesh, then moved towards Puri in Odisha via Chhattisgarh. From there, I rode south to Tirupati Balaji Temple in Andhra Pradesh and finally visited Sri Sailam, a great Jyotirlinga as my last destination. A day later, I rode from the outskirts of Hyderabad to Kargil in 12.5 hours. It was a 600-kilometer ride, and that day I realized the powers of endurance riding. I could have literally rode from Hyderabad to Mumbai in a day if I wanted to. Later, in 2023, I got some recognition for that ride from India Book of Records. Apparently, there is no one crazy enough to do this ride in India. So now I got thinking about more crazy long distance high endurance rides. In April this year, the company I worked in called me back to office. The work from home culture vanished gradually after the lockdown loosened. The majority of people I knew went back to their offices happily to work, majorly because they got bored at home. But I wasn't bored. I was in fact the opposite of bored. All these years, since the lockdowns loosened, I was having the time of my life traveling. And now they were asking me to give up my freedom and sit inside four walls talking and interacting with a limited number of people, having limited possibilities in a mundane life. I am not ready to give that up. So I quit my job and I remembered my childhood. The dreams that I once thought were imagination. It was time to make them all come true. As a kid, I once imagined myself in all the extreme-most points of India. It was time to manifest it into reality. This gave birth to the India Circuit solo ride, my dream ride, the most exciting ride that I've ever attempted in my life. The northernmost tip of India we have already covered. It is Siachen Base Camp. I first used to think it was Skardu, but now when I'm actually here, I realize that Skardu should be a part of India, but it actually comes under Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And from now, we are headed to the westernmost point of India. This is Dwarka in Gujarat. Now, why have I not chosen to go clockwise and head to the easternmost tip of India instead is because it is August. It is still raining as we experienced the day before yesterday. In school, I was taught that Northeast India receives the most rainfall of all India. So I do not want to risk riding in heavy rainfall. That's why I have chosen to go to Gujarat first. On this route, I will be passing Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. And most of us know that Rajasthan and Gujarat both are in rain shadow areas. So fingers crossed, by the time we reach the easternmost tip of India in Arunachal Pradesh, it will be off season for rains and on season for riding. But, in spite of all this, you know I am on a time and a budget leash. See, if what I've heard from the locals is true, it snows in the last week of September or the first week of October. And as soon as it snows, the Manali-Leh highway will shut down. So I will have to deroute and reach Leh via Srinagar, the route on which I'm riding right now. This is at least a 1,000-kilometer longer route, and simply while coming back, this route will not make any sense unless and until I have no other choice. But I want to take the Manali-Leh route because I have never rode that route before. When I rode up to Leh this season, it was via Zanskar. Now I'm going back down via Srinagar. The only best choice is to come back up from the Leh-Manali highway. So my aim is to reach Manali by the last week of September in order to avoid snowfall, road closures and a longer route. My logical and calculative estimation says that it will take me at least 60 days to complete the entire circuit. It is 17th August right now. 60 days from now means 17th October. This means we gotta ride in full throttle modes this entire journey. Also, we are on a budget because currently I am jobless. So there's no source of income, limited money, and in this situation, money saved is literally money earned. Considering the mileage of my bike Himalayan 411 and my talents in negotiating for a room rent, I think a budget of 1 lakh rupees is decent for this circuit. A challenge always keeps the journey interesting. And we have 2 of them. And look, we have already reached Sangam. आपसे बात करते करते पता ही नहीं चला that Sangam, the first checkpoint of today's journey, is already here. See, this is the confluence of 2 great rivers, Zanskar coming up from Zanskar Valley, and Sindhu River coming down from Kailash Mansarovar, which is currently in China. These two magnificent rivers merge and become the great Indus River, which flows into Pakistan from POK here nearby, and it merges in the ocean from Karachi. Imagine the length and strength of this particular river. It is equivalent of Ganga Ji for Pakistan. चलो यहाँ पे ज्यादा ब्रेक नहीं ले सकते. लेट्स कीप मूविंग. Today's route is going to be quite interesting, you know. I have rode till Dras before, so I know what all awaits for us ahead. So after Sangam, the next beautiful checkpoint we will pass is Alchi. The monastery in Alchi is the oldest monastery of this region. It was established somewhere between the years 950 AD to 1050 AD. That's more than 1,000 years old. We will not be visiting this monastery this time because of the time lease that we are on. But last time when I went there, it took us almost the entire day to explore the entire monastery, and most of the areas are restricted there for us. It was peaceful and the vibes there were very different compared to other monasteries that I've been to. Let me tell you that all the monasteries have peaceful vibes, but this one is actually different. I can't explain it, but this monastery actually feels like home. Like, I am not a Buddhist, but I would fight to protect this monastery if it ever comes to harm's way. Lakhs of monks have meditated here. All their pure, peaceful energies reside here. Actual incarnations of Gautama Buddha have meditated here. No wonder why it feels different. If you ever come to Leh and you feel spiritual and meditative, do not miss out on Alchi Monastery, guys. We have started gaining altitude now, guys. See, U-pin turns always indicate either ascending or descending a mountain. In our case, right now it is ascending. Soon the air will be thin and the oxygen level in the atmosphere will be low. After Alchi, we will be passing one of my all-time favorite places in Ladakh. It has a wow factor. Like, I always wonder how it is geographically possible to even exist. Although the Buddhist monks explain why Lama Yuru actually looks like a moonland on earth, it still flabbergasts me every time I see it. FYI, Lama Yuru Monastery is the second oldest monastery in Ladakh after Alchi Monastery. After Lama Yuru, it will be time to climb two high altitude mountain passes, Fotula Pass and Namikala Pass. Both of them are at 13,000 feet and 12,000 feet above sea level respectively. The La in the name of passes means mountain passes in old Ladakhi language. After these two passes, we will reach Kargil, a very significant town in the history of Indian wars. In 1999, Pakistanis had infiltrated Kashmir till Kargil. It was a scary time, but fortunately we pushed them back. Finally, 60 kilometers after Kargil, we will reach our destination for today, which is Dras. Dras is where exactly the war had started in 1999. It is the place from where the enemies entered our sacred land. It is where most of our Indian Jawans lost their precious lives. It is the place where the Indian Army built the war memorial of the Kargil War. And it is the place where POK is extremely close by. and we are still 240 kilometers ahead of our destination for today. And by the way, I should have told you this in the beginning only. We are riding today the entire day on officially the first national highway of India, NH1. I first rode on this highway in June when I came to Leh via Zanskar and Kargil. So that is when I rode on this road for the very first time. I was so happy when I discovered that I am riding on NH1. I remember that point after seeing that blue board. Woohoo! देखो NH1 की खूबसूरती, चारों तरफ नंगे सूखे पहाड़, all of them testing our toughness and endurance. This is why Ladakh is so damn beautiful. Open mountains. Nowhere else in India you can experience this. Most of the mountain ranges are close to each other and the valleys are narrow in all of Himachal and Uttarakhand. Only in Ladakh have I experienced this kind of open mountain ranges and broad valleys. It is so beautiful. Woohoo! These mountain ranges are the Himalayas. We are literally riding in the Himalayan mountain ranges of North India. These ranges are the highest and the youngest mountain ranges of the world. A few million years back, these ranges were under the ocean. Even today, few hardcore explorers discover fossils while trekking these mountains. Most of the fossils were excavated, discovered and taken by the British during the 200-year era in India. So unfortunately, we got very little left. You know, I can't explain the pleasure of riding on an empty straight road in the middle of the Himalayas to you. Ultimate peace I'm experiencing. Nothing can beat this. I am literally in full throttle mode, guys. I feel like a Central American cowboy riding my healthy horse in the middle of the desert. Let me know if you know this feeling in the comments below. You see how the terrain changes here? I didn't even realize when it happened. देखो देखो हरियाली. The greenery you see in these mountains are entirely man-made. None of these trees are naturally grown by the miracle of nature. Because there is no fertile soil present here at all. Only the loose and infertile desert sand which soaks the water content out of the atmosphere. So in order to grow trees, the locals living in this area have worked physically to make the sand fertile and grow these trees. These are pine cone trees and they hold great amounts of water in their barks. During the dry season, they provide coolness because of the water they hold, and during winter, the locals use pine cones to ignite fire when they hang out outdoors. Pine cones are very good conductors of fire. I learned that during my travels in Uttarakhand. Did you notice on the right till here how many trees we have encountered after Leh? I can say confidently, not even 10 trees. The reason we are seeing such greenery is because we are passing the most ancient town of Ladakh right now. The place where Ladakh's oldest monastery is situated. The birthplace of Buddhist lifestyle in Ladakh. Yes, you guessed it right. We are passing Alchi town. The monastery is on the other side of the town and approximately 15 kilometers detour from our route. We got to cross a bridge over the Indus River and off-road a bit. Lot of work when we are on a time leash. So this time we are gonna skip it. I promise next time when I'm living for a longer time in Leh, I will visit Alchi and make an entire vlog on this monastery. It deserves the attention. You see these lighter patches on the mountain? This is the sign that we are approaching the Moonland of India soon. You know, the vibes I've always felt here are somewhat mysterious. When I say always, it means I've been to this place thrice before. We would have crossed exactly 100 kilometers from Leh city by the time we will reach the monastery area. So the history of Lamayuru goes like this. 1,000 years ago, this entire land was under a lake. There were two Indian masters who practiced a tantric style of worshipping to the gods. When they came here, they offered large amounts of grains of corn to the serpent god present here. They thought that there shouldn't be a lake here, but instead a gonpa, a place to meditate for the monks. This place of meditation should be unstable, so test your inner strength. This thought became a wish, and soon the serpent god drained out the entire water of the lake in the corns that the masters had offered. The corns became as huge as these mountains, and over time the water evaporated. But the mountains stayed back, enormous as they are. This is how the mountains present here gained their shape of a moonland. This is the main town of Lamayuru. See, I stayed here last time. This is where all the homestays are. The monastery is on the right on the top of the hill. The monastery is surrounded by houses of the village where the majority of locals stay currently. We won't be stopping here too, but you must, if you're visiting this place for the first time. I've visited Lamayuru thrice before, so that's why my priority is to reach my destination of the day. See, people also cycle in these mountains. The perfect way to build your endurance. I wish to do this once in my life. Cycle all the high altitude passes of Ladakh. I've actually met people who have cycled to Umlingla Pass, the highest motorable road in the world. It is at 19,024 feet above sea level. Currently we are ascending to Fotula Pass, which is at 13,000 feet above sea level. Cycling till this altitude is also crazy enough in my opinion. An honest salute to these cyclists. Wow, this is unreal. This place looks so unreal. Layers after layers, mountains, high altitude, brown, deserted mountains. I've never seen something like this in my life except in Ladakh. I mean, this is really out of this world. You should come here, experience this place firsthand. This really feels out of this world. So mythologically, now we know why the mountains in this particular area look different from the mountains of Ladakh. Scientifically speaking, we know that once upon a time, millions of years ago, these mountains of the Himalayas were under the ocean as ocean beds. When the current subcontinent of India smashed into mainland Asia, the ocean bed rose up to these mountain ranges. These mountains are the equivalent of stitches on the human body. The way stitches join the ruptured wound on a human body, these mountains join two lands on this part of the world. It is crazy and magnificent, I know, but scientifically speaking, I still do not know why the mountains here in this area are in the shape of a moonland. If there are any geologists hearing this, please shed some light on us with your knowledge. You know, I've heard a lot of people comparing Ladakh to Spiti. They say that both have similar terrains and Spiti is like a younger sibling of Ladakh. Trust me, guys, I've been to Spiti many times and it is nothing like Ladakh. Yes, the terrains look similar in some parts and it is considered a high altitude area, but Ladakh is unique. It is the crown of India and no other place can be compared to this beautiful region. No doubt that Spiti is beautiful too, but Spiti is so much smaller than Ladakh. The vibes, the energies, the history, geography is so much different. Most of the terrains are also different. So there is no comparison between Spiti and Ladakh. So the next checkpoint that comes to our journey is Potula Pass. It is somewhere about 13,000 feet above sea level and it is the highest point of today's journey. For me, it is an easy pass because just day before yesterday, I was at Khardungla, which is the second highest motorable road in the world. And I've been staying here in high altitude for approximately 2 months now. Before coming to Leh in June, I was training for a month in Himachal Pradesh and before that I trained for a month and a half in Uttarakhand. So I am used to high altitude. But a lot of people experience AMS, which is acute mountain sickness in these altitudes. So if you're planning to come here directly somehow, be aware of the possibilities of consequences that could happen. It started raining again. What the hell? The torture of 15th August wasn't enough? This rain wasn't in the weather forecast this morning. मुंबई में फैशन का भरोसा और पहाड़ों पे मौसम का भरोसा कभी नहीं कर सकते. Damn, bro. I just hope this drizzle doesn't convert into heavy rains, man. See, Indian telecom industry has grown so much. At 13,000 feet above sea level, also, they're providing towers and services. Check out the height at which we are riding, guys. This is what 13,000 feet above sea level looks like. I wonder what the height of these peaks would be. Passes की तो height हमें पता है, but I wonder if they would have ever measured the altitude of these peaks. It is getting too windy and rainy, guys. I'm gonna stop, shut down the camera and wear my rain gears now.
1 hour later.
So my dear friends, it rained too heavily for like an hour My camera here isn't waterproof. I had to stop to put on my rain gears and keep this GoPro inside my bag. Fortunately, I had my gloves handy, so the rain did not hurt like the evening before yesterday. But unfortunately, I passed both the mountain passes and couldn't record the ride for you guys. Oye, hey, view dekho zara. It's been such a pleasure to ride in these mountains, guys. When I first rode on these roads few months back, I couldn't believe that mountain roads could be so broad and smooth. I felt like I was riding in some foreign country. Honestly. So, I don't know whether you see it or not, but I'm descending right now. My next checkpoint is Kargil. I will take a lunch break there. It is 2:30 right now and I am super hungry. There are no dhabas here, as you can see, and it's still drizzling a bit. So I cannot waste time to stop and eat because if the drizzle turns into rain, I am stuck here. If I have to get stuck only, the place must be somewhere where I can find a room to stay. So friends, we have entered Kargil city. This is a strategic, iconic, historic city of Ladakh. Just a few years back, Kargil was a part of Jammu and Kashmir. But in 2019, the government strategically separated Kashmir and Ladakh, which gave rise to a lot of opposition by the locals here. But in my opinion, if we look at the larger picture, this separation was necessary to protect our extremely important and fragile states. But we will talk about this later because my primary priority right now is to find a place to eat and take a break. See, this is Kargil city, the proper center of the city. So it is difficult to find a dhaba that serves vegetarian food here. The majority population of Kargil is Muslim. So all the dhaba or restaurants here serve either chicken, mutton or beef. But very few serve vegetarian food. I am a pure vegetarian guy and I prefer to eat food from places that serve pure vegetarian food. But as a traveler, I understand that it is difficult to find a place like that. So I'm flexible to even eat from a place that serves vegetarian as well as non-vegetarian food. So that place where I stopped before was still the outskirts of Kargil. So now I'm on my way to find a good restaurant for good food. So let me tell you a bit of what I know about Kargil and the war that happened in 1999. See, if you Google Kargil War, they will mostly tell you about how the Pakistani militants entered India dressed as Indian soldiers and captured Tiger Hill, which is in Dras. Tiger Hill is a strategic asset for India because it is the highest point from which one can watch over and guard the National Highway 1, the highway on which we are currently riding on. So in 1999, the war didn't stay in the mountains, it came down here to this city. Back then, this road wasn't a travel route, it was a lifeline. One highway, Srinagar to Leh, if it fell, Ladakh was cut off from India. That's why Kargil mattered. From the ridgelines above, the enemy positions were close enough to see our movement, close enough to shell supply convoys, close enough that civilians heard explosions every single night. Imagine living in a town where the mountains around you are watching you back by the enemy's eyes. The Indian army evacuated families quietly overnight. People locked their homes without knowing if they would ever return. Schools were shut down and markets ran on fear and rationing. Hospitals treated soldiers and civilians side by side. Sharp nails, frostbite, shell shock with limited supplies and no certainty of tomorrow. This city didn't pause life. Life was forced to pause here. But here's a big salute to the people of Kargil because they did not hesitate. They didn't stay silent and they did not stay neutral either. They guided Indian soldiers through terrains that maps couldn't explain. Narrow nullahs, hidden mule tracks, high altitude shortcuts that only the local shepherds knew. The local porters carried ammunition, rations, sometimes even wounded soldiers under shelling at altitudes where breathing itself feels optional. Pakistan miscalculated one thing badly. They assumed the city would turn away. Kargil didn't just stay with India, it held the line. When the war ended, the fighting stopped, but the city didn't go back to normal. Troops increased, infrastructure lagged, and civilian life took years to recover. Kargil paid the cost of a war it never asked for. So now you know, we are riding to a place that lived inside a war, quietly, stubbornly, and without applause. This road is history that refused to break. हेलो जी, वी आर इन कारगिल मार्केट. यहाँ मिल जाएगा कुछ भोजन पानी.
2 hours later.
So friends, I'm finally done with lunch. I really needed that break. When you're riding long distances, you must keep on consuming nutrition in little quantities because energies drop like crazy. I had a gap of almost 8 hours between my breakfast and dinner. That is not good. I should have stopped before only to have something. Now, because of no breaks and no food, I took one very long break. For almost 2 hours, I had stopped. Took me 1 hour to eat lunch. Then I was feeling very lethargic, so I dozed off for some time. Now I'm 60 kilometers away from my destination for today, and it is 4 p.m. The Kargil War Memorial shuts down at 5:30 p.m. according to Google. So I gotta reach it within the hour. That means I need to speed up. But before that, it's time to refuel now. After this, I don't know when I will get the next petrol pump.
पावर है ना भैया?
पावर
है ना?
₹639. ₹639 down from my budget of 1 lakh after this fuel up. Let's aim to have the highest mileage with this and next fuel up in Srinagar. The roads are anyway good here, so that will be a support. And here we pass the Kargil checkpost. Now next stop is Dras. I love this section of today's ride. Now we will actually see the transition of the landscape from rugged, rocky mountains of Ladakh to the lush green mountains of Kashmir. This is a beautiful ride alongside the Dras River. I just hope we reach it soon without any obstacles. Wow! I love this ride. Just look at this, na. One side full greenery, The other side Rocky Mountains. कहाँ मिलेगा ऐसा contrast? All the Bollywood films whose storyline is on the line of control are shot here. Like the movie Laksh, Haider, Sher Shah, LOC Kargil, a film based on the history of this very place. You must watch it again now to relate and understand better what actually happened. Damn, it's getting cloudy again. Now I'm out of all my rain gears. It shouldn't rain again now, for God's sake. It still shows 47 minutes in the navigation. Hey, more army trucks. We gotta salute what the army does for the protection of our nation. I mean, the army has to handle pressure from the center, the army has to handle pressure from the enemies, the army also has to handle pressure from the locals. There are forces and politicians present here to demand Azad Kashmir. That basically means they are the citizens of Kashmir who do not want to be a part of India or Pakistan. They want Kashmir to become a separate country altogether. So they openly oppose the Indian army. Now you only tell me, it is basic common sense that if Kashmir is so easily given off as a separate independent state, Pakistan will force itself into it the first chance it gets. Indians care about laws. Indians have a compassion for individual human beings. But Pakistan is the exact opposite. They will storm into Kashmir and declare it as its own. It's such a scary situation out there. Chalo, I am here. This is Kargil War Memorial, my friends. It was 5:25 p.m. by the time I found a decent homestay for that day. Found one just 2-3 kilometers ahead of the Kargil War Memorial. Let me give you a tip if you decide to stay in Dras. It doesn't matter if you want a budgeted stay or an expensive one. You always book a homestay before reaching Dras. Because if you go in the evening and find a homestay like I did, they will always quote you high prices. I had to spend a lot of time to find a decent homestay with basic hygiene levels. Eventually, I found one, but that just meant me spending less time at Kargil War Memorial. Remember, I'm on a time leash, so I have to spend as less time as possible in doing these things. Kargil War Memorial made me extremely emotional. I would recommend every single Indian to visit Kargil War Memorial at least once in their lifetime. You will know about my experience in the next chapter, where we will be riding out of Ladakh via Zojila Pass, the horror pass. Basically, it is known for all its horror stories. We will be experiencing Kashmir Valley, Sonmarg, the Dal Lake, and we will also be riding on the highway which connects the Himalayas to the Indian Ocean. Do you know which highway am I talking about? Anyway, we will come to know about it in the next chapter, so hit the bell icon to stay updated about my uploads. And until then, subscribe, share, like, comment, because
Life is travel!